Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live video. Today it is Wednesday. It is the 18th of September 2024. My name is CareyHolzman and today, well, we've got a full bench in front of us and we'll explain why every item is on this bench and why it needs to be here for today's video. First, a shout out and a thank you to our friends at Acronis. That's the software that I use in my professional repair and maintenance business for cloning, upgrading, and backing up PCs, as well as our friends over at RoboForm, again, the software I personally use and recommend for password management. 30% off is being offered by both of these companies, RoboForm if you're a new customer and Acronis regardless, and the links and discount codes are in the video description below this video. I also want to shout out our friends at VIP CDK deals, where you can get discounted Windows and Microsoft Office license keys, significantly less than the retail price, all guaranteed, and 30% off. Coupon code and links in the video description, and our thanks to them for offering you guys these deals. Now, for today, we're going to start off something a little bit fun or nightmarish. We'll find out in a minute. As you can see from the big box in front of me and the title of today's video, it's going to be all about the new TP-Link Deco mesh system. That's Wi-Fi 7. We've had a number of reasons why we want to review this, so we went out and we bought it. And it's expensive. We'll get into that and we'll explain why, because this is our Asus BE12, which is Wi-Fi 6E, the mesh system here in Studio C, which has been randomly dropping our Wi-Fi during live broadcasts, which is not good. Other than that, it's been running great. So rather than spend hours experimenting and trying and failing and trying again and failing until we figure it out, just be faster to replace it, and in theory double our Wi-Fi 6 gigahertz speeds. So in theory, this can achieve about 1200 megabytes per second from one mesh to the other, which is pretty fast. This will achieve double that, should be around 2400. So this is like a little faster than a 1 gig wired connection. And this will be a little slower than a 2.5 gig wired connection if everything works. And hopefully not only is our connection faster, but hopefully it won't drop the Wi-Fi anymore. If we have any problems with it, because we purchased it with your memberships and contributions, we will just package it back up and send it right back to Amazon. Anything we promote here, most of it you can buy at Amazon. They have 30-day free returns, so you don't need to take my word for it. It's very difficult for me to recommend anything for individuals I've never met. Just because I recommend something that I like doesn't mean that you're going to like it. So I generally use these videos, think of them as a product introduction. Don't ask me if you should buy it. I really don't know if you should buy it. I'll tell you whether or not I would, but I mean, that really has nothing. I've never met most of you, so I don't know. But if you buy it and you don't like it, if you bought it from Amazon, you have 30 days to return it. Regardless, if you end up purchasing or have already purchased anything we reviewed here on the channel, we'd love to hear from actual users of the equipment what they thought about it, what they liked or disliked, and whether or not they recommend it. It's always interesting to hear from the actual consumers versus just a professional reviewer. Also, my needs are not like yours, I promise. So just because something's adequate for me doesn't mean that it wouldn't be overkill for you, or that it would even be appropriate. So given all that, just bear that in mind. We're here to just do product introductions, and we're going to do that today with the TP-Link Deco BE95. We're going to get into that in a minute, but first, as you can see in front of me, I have I saw Coca-Cola has been promoting this Oreo cookie flavored Coke, and Oreo cookies have been promoting Coca-Cola flavored cookies. Now, you didn't think I was not going to talk about this, did you? First of all, I like Oreos. I like Coke. I would never think of dipping an Oreo into a Coke. Don't you dip cookies in milk? This whole thing seems really strange to me. Also, this new Oreo flavored Coca-Cola, supposedly a limited edition, only available in 0 sugar, which Mara's quite happy about. but that's an unusual choice, and I like sugar, so I'm a little afraid of this. So I thought we'd kick off today's show by simply trying these. Now, they kind of gone viral. If you do a search for Oreo Coke, you're going to find dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of videos and short form videos of people taste testing this with varying reaction. I'm certainly not the first, but it's definitely off topic for tech. Knowing my association with Coca-Cola and how often you do see one, especially in past videos, I just have to know. And I thought we'd share this experience together. Now, for full disclosure, I've already opened these and tried them. This I've never had before, so we'll see what happens. There's our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, joining us in our chat room. He says, good evening, Carey and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh right this minute, 53 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 11 degrees Celsius. We are cooling down a little bit here in Phoenix. We will hit over 100 degrees Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I hope that's the last of our 3-digit temperatures, because I'm done with it. I am so over it. Bring on the cooler weather. Wish I was in Scotland right now, I'll tell you that. Mark Gaines also sent an Amazon gift card. Thank you, Mark, for your support of the channel. He recently just built a Project Zero build being inspired by the one we showed here. And he said he just activated his Windows yesterday using my link for VIP CDK deals, and everything went smoothly. See, that's the important part. Doesn't matter if it goes smoothly for me. Doesn't matter if it's something I like. What matters is if you like it and if everything goes the way you expected it to. And the only way we're going to know if that's going to happen is for you to actually do it and then share your experience with us, please. Welcome in everybody in our chat room. Thank you all for being members, and welcome our regular viewers. And of course, Marlena, our channel, gotta find a title for her. Channel coordinator? Nah, doesn't sound right. She joins us in there as well. Look, welcome in Luke Greenia, also with a Project Zero build. Don Holmes just became a member. Right on. Thanks, Don. Thanks for supporting the channel and becoming a member here. It's because of the members we can make videos like this. We don't have to rely on asking a manufacturer to send us a product and then meeting all their requirements. We just buy it. I'm really hopeful this is going to solve the problem here. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. But until we try it, we don't know how it's going to work in our environment and our unique requirements. But in theory, that should work. Ole Peterson says, maybe her position is CEO, or we just call her boss. Oh no, don't even start that. You're going to create a monster. Okay, so let's get started here with this, just a quick taste test. I want to start with these cookies. So the cookies, if I bring them up here, bring them up to the camera, you kind of get a smaller portion than us Americans are used to here. And when we peel back this top, aside from the few that are mysteriously missing, we have some cookies that are Oreo cookie on one side, and they're red with a Coke emblem on the other, which is pretty cool. And supposedly in the cream filling, there's Pop Rocks, something that's supposed to simulate carbonation, that, you know, that sugary poppy candy. There's a couple different designs, which I guess doesn't really matter since you're eating it anyway, but it is neat. All right, so that's what the cookie looks like. Now, I have to tell you, they smell like Coke and Oreos. That is, I don't know if you're supposed to eat these or just smell them. They smell exactly like Coke and Oreos put together. I mean, if you didn't tell me what that was, if you just blindfolded me, I'd say that's Oreo and Coke very close together. Now, typically, we think the appropriate way to eat an Oreo is you twist it apart, but apparently, my understanding is you don't get the full effect unless you eat the cookie as you would any other cookie. So, okay, let me try that. Okay, the trick isn't to eat quickly. I guess the trick is to let it sit in your mouth as you chew it a little bit and give it Pop Rocks a chance to pop. Now I feel it popping. All right. A lot of sugar. That's definitely sugar. Weird that they would make this zero sugar only. And there's no zero sugar this. This is all sugar. So it's like you dipped an Oreo in Coca-Cola. It never occurred to me to even try that. I don't know why I would. It definitely smells better than it tastes. It's not terrible, but I think the Oreo cookie, the original Oreo cookie, cannot be beaten. I don't know why they keep trying. I mean, they've already hit it out of the park, so. All right, now, step over here, give you a close-up of this. Here's the zero sugar. I am not anticipating I'm going to like this. Mara loves this, so she's like, you better not drink all of that. I said, oh, pretty sure you don't have anything to worry about. But my curiosity, I gots to know. And I have my emergency backup Gatorade right here to rinse out my mouth if I need to. All right. There we go. You know, I probably shouldn't have had the cookie first. I feel like all my sensory taste buds are just coated in cookie now. I know Mara opened one of these in the car and the whole car smelled like Oreos. And I'm not complaining. The smell is fantastic. She claims it's one of the best zero sugar drinks she's had. Yeah, so I think I should have started with this first because this is a little overpowering. I don't really smell anything. But I know in the car, it smelled great. Let's hope I can taste it. Okay, if you're used to diet soda, I guess. I shouldn't have started with the cookie. I think this on its own, I really can't taste it now. All I'm tasting is the sugar substitute in carbonation in liquid. I can't discern any flavor from the liquid at all. And I know it has flavor. Mara tells me it's sweeter than other zero sugar drinks. But yeah, I can't. That should have been second. That's overpowering. I got nothing. It's nothing. I have a little bit of that fake sugar flatness with the carbonation, and then I'm not really getting any flavor whatsoever. This could be water. So I know it's not this. I know this has a good flavor, according to Mara. It has a flavor. And I know my taste buds are working, but I saturated my taste buds with this. So That's a shame. I wish I could do that again. Overall, these are great to smell. If this was an air freshener, I'd buy it all day. As a treat, yeah. I like Oreos. Nothing wrong with the original. As for Coke, I like the original. What a shock. All right, let me get rid of these. Let me just set them off over here. And I'll put them over here. Yeah, you can take those back.
Thank goodness.
It's all yours. Well, not the cookies. She won't eat the cookies. No sugar. Oreo cookies and Coca-Cola. What a strange combination. I guess it's just available for a limited time. Unless it becomes like a big hit, then I guess they'll sell it regularly. But if you're watching this video well after September of 2024, it may not be made anymore. So just FYI. Personally, I wouldn't buy it again. I'm just curious. Look at other people's reviews if you're interested in their reactions. Some people absolutely love it. Some people hate it. I don't love it or hate it. I could take it or leave it. So there we go. David wants to know if I prefer Coca-Cola or Gatorade these days. Well, I think what you see on camera sort of answers your own question. It's really just about what I crave. Coca-Cola in a hot 110 degree or 110 plus degree Fahrenheit Arizona day is not refreshing. It's not refreshing at all. So Gatorade is more satisfying, and so it's just what my body craves. It's not really like I'm trying to cut back on anything. It just doesn't sound good. Typically, if I go to dinner, I'll have a Coke with my dinner. But during the day, I don't know. I'm just not craving it like I used to. It's not as satisfying as it used to be. But I mean, there's days where I don't have one at all. That used to not be the case, but my cravings are changing. So I'm just obeying what my body craves, nothing more. Not doing it on purpose. All right, let's see. Elijah52 Dickens says hello. There's Marsman50. Jake says, what about beer? Ugh. Yeah, no, you can have it. Is Huawei a good router brand these days? That's what Romek wants to know. My concern about the lower tiered routers from companies like Huawei or, boy, there's a bunch coming out of China, is what kind of support you're going to get. What kind of support, not only regards to technical support, but firmware updates. How secure are these routers? So for me personally, I would not trust my router to a Chinese manufacturer that has no American headquarters. For me personally. Now, I've never tested Huawei or these other smaller brands. They've asked for us to review them, and I've declined them because I don't want to introduce you to a brand and have you think about whether you should buy that or a Netgear or TP-Link or Asus or Ingenious or any of the big established brands here in America. Now, if you live outside of America, that may be different. But I can tell you my experience with the Chinese manufacturers, when they sell you product, they have no way to warranty it. In other words, you're not going to mail that back to China. And if they don't have a US headquarters, there's nowhere here in the US to mail it for replacement. And if you're not getting regular firmware updates, as you would with Netgear or Asus or TP-Link, how would you know? You know what I mean? Like, should you be getting more, or are you getting the same amount? There's too much unknown and uncertainty for me to trust my network to it, including, and not just security and not just being spied on. I'm not talking about that. Really talking about the security of the safety of the router against attackers, other attackers. I'm not suggesting the manufacturers, which they could be, but I'm not suggesting that the manufacturers of these routers are spying on you. Just that they may not be making the most secure product, protecting you from hackers and internet threats that are always evolving. They also may not be offering the best in the way of support, as I previously mentioned, for any warranty. It's great when you buy from Amazon, you have that 30 days, but after that, you're on your own. This is a gamble. If you are considering buying one of those routers, I think you're doing it because you're trying to save money. But you have to consider that the reason why it's cheaper is because of these, potential risks that you're taking or consequences that you might take on, or you might not. You're sort of rolling the dice and hoping for the best to save 20, 30 bucks. So if you want to do that, you be my guest. I wouldn't sell that to a customer unless I had thoroughly tested it, been very familiar with the company, and knew I could put my name behind it. Because if my company has a router go out and now the whole company's down, and I sold them that router, that's a reflection on me. If I can't get that router replaced under warranty, as a business person running a computer repair business and managed service provider, I would have to buy a new router at my own expense because my customer is expecting that kind of service from me. The whole reason they asked me to purchase it for them and provide it is so they wouldn't make a bad decision. And if it were a name brand router that had the same problem, I would have a warranty and I wouldn't be paying for it out of pocket, right? Because sometimes things happen. So when it comes to those manufacturers, you don't see them here on this channel. And if you're wondering why, it's because I wouldn't sell them to my customers. And I don't think it's worth the risk. I just don't want to be lacking firmware updates that leave me vulnerable. And I don't want to have reliability issues where I have to send the router in for repair and there's nowhere to send it. Even if I could send it to China, how long am I going to be without a router until it arrives in China and they process it and send me another one? 2 months? So I'll just go without a router for 2 months? That doesn't work for me. But if you want to do that, let us know how that works out for you. David Graham with a $2 super chat says, I dip Oreo cookies in Coke all the time. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know that was a thing. Never occurred to me. And now that I've tasted it, I know why. Maybe it's an acquired taste. Not for Carey. Nice Lord says, Carey, I'm a PC tech since 1988. I enjoy your streams. I can see we are very alike in the way you build, diagnose a computer. I've built hundreds of PCs a long time, since the BBS ASCII days. Yeah, very cool. He says he's in Portugal, by the way. Right on. Well, thanks for joining us. Always great to have fellow techs in the house. And of course, this channel isn't for techs. It's really just for regular users. We're not here to train people to be techs. And, there's enough tech to tech or enthusiast to enthusiast videos. But what about the majority of computer owners that are intimidated by them? I'm here to remove that intimidation and help you get more control over your computer and know when is the right time to call somebody for help and what is it you can do yourself. But in no way does that make you a computer tech. Some folks have asked if I would do A+ training. I don't do that. I never have done that. There's a guy by the name of Mike Myers who has the best-selling A+ training books on the market. They're available at Amazon. He's also got the YouTube channel that he runs. And if you're looking for certifications, those of you watching that want to become computer techs, check out Mike Myers' line of A+ certification training courses. There's nothing I can do any better than he's already doing it. So there you go. All right, let's see. Romex says, I needed a replacement router, so I went to a tech store here in, is it Finland? They sold me one of those Huawei meshes straight from the store shelf. Yeah, see, I don't know if, when you're in another country, if the support is better or worse or the same. I have no idea. You'll have to let me know. Huawei is a bigger brand, right? They're more known than, say, some of the other router brands I see on Amazon that I've never heard of. I think Huawei was out loud in the United States, wasn't it? I don't know. Because I know they make cell phones and are not allowed to sell their cell phones here. But that's politics. Romex said he's got a Huawei WA802 1V5. Yeah, so it doesn't mean anything to me. You'll just have to let me know, right? Because we can see specs all day long. The question is, if you need support, are you going to get it? If you have to send the router in for warranty, can you? If you have questions, will they answer them in a timely manner? And these are things that we're not going to see on the marketing website of the manufacturer, right? They're not going to be directly honest with you about that. So if you keep it and you use it, we'd love to hear back, you know, in a couple of months. If you still have it, if you like it, if it's better than what you had, would you recommend it? If so, why? If not, why not? Or maybe it's a little of both. Maybe there's things you like and things you dislike that you're only going to learn by using it. And we hope you'll share that with us, because I have no intention of ever testing it or looking into it. A waste of my time. But let's see what else. Andy Kane recommends Professor Messer. Didn't he teach Excel? Wasn't he more? He's been around a long time. Dante Charles says, thank you, Uncle Carey, for all you do, the best in the business. Oh, well, flattery will get you everywhere. Thank you, Dante. David Graham says, buy American first. I don't think there are any American router manufacturers. Basically, you have American companies that outsource, well, they engineer and design the router, and then they bid it to factories in China for so many units using these particular components, and they go to the lowest price bidder usually. Netgear, Linksys, Asus, TP-Link, they don't. Well, TP-Link, I'm not sure, but they don't make their own routers. And that's true for AMD doesn't make their own chips. NVIDIA doesn't make their own chips. They're designed and engineered at the company, and then TSMC in Taiwan makes their chips. TSMC is going to be making Intel's chips. So everything's contracted out these days. So even a car, if you buy a Ford, right? This is a common argument that's a good analogy. Buy an American car. Is a Ford still an American car if all the parts are coming from overseas and it's being assembled in Canada or Mexico and then being shipped here and sold here? Whereas the Toyota has a factory in Georgia where it's built, or is it Mercedes? Then the Mercedes car is the American car. And the American car is a Mexican or Canadian car. I'm not sure. It depends on the model, and it depends on what you consider to be American. The profits go to an American company in the case of Ford or GM, and the profits would go to Germany in the case of Mercedes, or Japan in the case of Toyota. So is it about where the profits are going, or is it about where the product is made? So to me, made in America versus sold in America, two very different things. There is no router or motherboard manufacturer, to the best of my knowledge, that builds them in the United States. Everything's made in Japan or mostly in China. It might be engineered like, I think Gigabyte, they engineer their motherboards in Taiwan, and they have the circuit boards made in China. And then the circuit boards are shipped over, and I think they finish them in Japan? I can't remember. It's all stated on their site. But the important thing is that if I have a bad motherboard from Gigabyte, that I have a local United States address to ship it to have a replacement. If I have support, I go to their website, I hit the support, I can open a trouble ticket. It's all standard procedure, regardless if it's Gigabyte, ASRock, Asus, or MSI. They're all the same. But the minute you go to AliExpress, or the minute you go to some other manufacturer because you want to save money, well, you're not saving money. You're just choosing not to get the extras, right? You're saying, I don't want the support. I don't want particularly the updates or to worry about regular updates. If I get them, I get them. If I don't, I don't. There's no one really to complain to. And in exchange for that, I'll pay less for it. That's all you're doing. It's not really a bargain. We could do that with a car. If you'd like me to take the glass and tires off of it, I can sell it to you for less and tell you it's sold as is with no warranty. I can probably take a little off the car as well. If we keep stripping the car, we can keep bringing the price down. And you might say, look at a great price I got on this car, but you didn't get everything that the regular price comes with. Will you regret that, or is that okay? That's your choice. I have no idea. Frankie B with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Frankie B. Romick wants to know how often you should replace your router. About every 5 years is what I would recommend. Unless you have needs of, your needs personally dictate that your router needs to be replaced because you've moved to a bigger place, or because you've decided now you're going to be hooking up a NAS and moving a lot of data and your router's not fast enough, then that will dictate, you will dictate that on your own. But just for regular folks, if it's 5 or more years old, it's time to replace it, if for no other reason than for security. But also, you're going to get more updates, you're going to get faster Wi-Fi, you're going to get better Wi-Fi coverage, and it's probably more power efficient. So for all those reasons, routers that are 5 years old compared to a router today, that 5-year-old router is probably, like, depending on what you paid for it, you might say, I paid a lot of money for this router 5 years ago. That high, let's say whatever range router that was, let's say it was a mid-range router and it was $80. But if you go buy a brand new mid-range router today for $80, you get 3 times as much router, comparatively speaking. So it's not like, oh, I spent a lot of money on this, so I don't want to give it up. All this stuff is getting faster, better, more secure, and cheaper. So this idea that you have this PTSD about what you spent 5 years ago for what you got, and therefore you want to get as much out of it as possible. You can get so much more for the same price today, or even possibly less. Why? You're just punishing yourself holding on to it. It's not that expensive. For what you get today, you get a lot more for your buck. Everything's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And if it's been a few years, you're out of touch, those prices aren't the same anymore for what you get for your money. Just bear that in mind. So that's my recommendation. Peter VZ with a €1 super chat. Thank you, Peter. And PC Fishing renews membership, now a member for 28 months. He says, hey, Carey and Mara, I've been busy, but I normally watch your videos when I have a chance. Right on. Well, thanks, PC Fishing. Thanks for being a member for 28 months. That rocks. David Graham says, is the Deco cable ready? Like, can it replace a modem? No, this is not a modem. This is strictly a router. Router's a router, a modem's a modem. Typically, the only time you get a combination of router and modem is when you're buying it from the internet service provider. There is no combo internet modem that I'm aware of that works as well as a single router with one job. The minute we converge two things together, there's two problems with that. Neither one of them is of peak performance. You're getting more or less a decent router and more or less a decent cable modem. You're not getting the best cable modem and the best router combined. They don't do that. No such product has ever existed. So keep in mind, when a product is converged, and they've taken two products into one, you're not getting the best of either one. It's convenient until it breaks, because when it breaks, instead of just your modem dying or instead of just your router having an issue, you've lost both router and modem at the same time. It's no different than the old days of the compact stereo systems where you had the turntable and the cassette deck, the receiver all built into one unit. That's all well and good, but if the unit won't power on, you cannot play any music at all. You've lost your turntable, your receiver, you've lost all of it because it's all in one compact unit. But because it's compact, you don't have all the wiring, it costs less money, There's pros and cons. And for me personally, I'm the kind of person that wants, you know, back in the 80s, I want the best turntable. I want the best receiver. I want the best cassette deck. I want the best speakers. And then I will wire all of that up, and it's going to take up a whole rack. That's how I did it. But there were other people that didn't care so much. Just put a compact stereo in there. It takes less room. You just plug it in and plug in your speakers. You're good to go. It doesn't sound as good. It's definitely not as versatile. It costs a lot less. And it meets their expectations. It wouldn't meet mine, but you get what you pay for. It costs a lot less. If it breaks, you lose all of it. If my cassette deck breaks, I still have all my other components. So, same with routers and modems. The good news is routers are universal. It's going to take a standard internet connection that comes out of every modem ever made. So you would just plug your modem into literally any router. There's no compatibility. The only compatibility is the modem to the ISP, your internet service provider. That you need to make sure your ISP supports it if you're going to provide your own. But the minute you go to a router, that's just networking. It doesn't matter what you're networking, Linux, Apple, Windows, a refrigerator, anything, a Ring doorbell, none of that matters. That's all to a universal standard of TCP/IP, Ethernet. And so these routers will communicate and work with literally any modem in the world. Romex says, what's the difference between Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7 cables? Well, there's also Category 8. It's about performance. It's about how fast the data can transmit through the cable. It's far too much for us to get into in this video today, but there's a great Wikipedia article explaining why these category cables exist, the order, which year they came out, and every year they got better. And they got better by manufacturing has improved, and they're able to do things with the cable now that they were not able to do years ago, redefining the category from 3 to 5 to 5E to 6 to 6A. 7, I think, is willy-nilly. 8 is, I think, the other standard. It's all detailed in a Wikipedia article that explains it in great detail. But essentially, the higher the number is, the more capable the cable is. But if you're not plugging like a category 6A cable, Ethernet cable, can carry 10 gigabits per second. But if you don't have anything that requires that, you don't need that cable. It'll work. It'll carry less. But if you have an old cable and you bought something that's got 10 gig on it, and you want to get 10 gig out of it, you can't use a category 5 cable or a category 6 cable. You need to use a category 6A if you want to get everything out of it. And then this will continue on into the future as the technology continues to improve. We'll see how far manufacturing and engineering techniques go to keep improving that cable and what it's capable of doing. It's pretty incredible stuff. But that's why even HDMI cables have improved. You don't want to use a 10-year-old HDMI cable on your brand new TV because you're too cheap to spend $10 on a modern one. That's a big mistake because that cable won't likely meet the standards that the TV is compatible with to get the most out of that TV. You want the latest version of HDMI. So buy a new HDMI cable when you buy the TV. Stop trying to reuse this old stuff because you spent a lot of money for it. It's not a toaster. It's not an appliance. This stuff keeps evolving. And if you refuse, if you're saying, well, I'm not going to buy that because I already have it, I'm going to reuse these cables on my 10 gig, you're not going to get the full 10 gig, or you're not going to get it sustainably, consistently, or not at all. If you say, well, I'm going to buy this brand new, 75-inch TV, but they're not going to nickel and dime me on the cables. I already got the cables at home. If those cables are, 5+ years old, you're only hurting yourself. And you might hook it up and think it works. You might be under the impression it's working, but it might be able to do so much more. And you may not realize that until you try to do that and it doesn't work. And then you're going to be calling the company for support. Why doesn't this work? And come to find out, when you bought the TV, because you wouldn't spend the $6 on an HDMI cable, you are now spending hours trying to diagnose what's going on. All this stuff is so inexpensive. Cables, There's no reason if you're spending, you know, $1,200–1,300 on a router and you're doing it because you want the higher speeds, get new cables. That's the cheapest part of this whole system. The router, the switches, the configuration takes time. Well, it may be. Cables are nothing. They're so inexpensive these days. And you know what you do with your old cables? Throw them in the recycle bin. Don't be tempted to ever use them again, unless you want to use those cables with old, like you're a vintage collector. You've got some old equipment. You keep the old cables with the old equipment. Unless you like if $6 is a lot of money for you and you're willing to go without because ignorance is bliss and you don't know what you're missing, have at it. Just telling you, set your expectations and decide, but understand what you're deciding, what the consequences are. Paul Gray with a $20 Australian super chat. Paul joins us from Australia. Thank you, Paul. Essential Working Too Hard joins us. PhotoMix Media says he loves TP-Link products. Yeah, well, you've seen a number of TP-Link routers here that we've shown. Wi-Fi 7, even Wi-Fi 6E. We showed the big square thing. Anyway, I think they're probably the best value of router on the market compared to the bigger brands, Asus, Netgear, Linksys. I think you get more for your money with TP-Link. So this is about as cheap as I'm going to go. Netgear has a router like this for $2,300. And it's massive. Like one of the mesh points of the router itself is like, it's big. This also, when this arrived, this was much heavier than I expected. I mean, this thing weighs, that's got to be 40 pounds. 35, 40 pounds. I wasn't expecting that. Let me take a look over at the manufacturer's website and we'll see how they're promoting this. And we'll share that with you here. All the links are in the video description below the video. Let me go over to my window capture. Come on, there it is. Okay, so here's what we've got, the BE95. Now they do sell us in a 2-pack. Actually, you can just buy 1 or 2 or 3 together. So you can use it just as a router. Or you use it as intended as a mesh with a minimum of 2 units. I don't know what the maximum is, but as far as kits go, you can buy this in a 3-unit kit. You can see on the back, we've got ports for 2.5 gig wired connections, 2 10 gig Ethernet connections, and this last one was shared with the SFP. I don't like SFP. That's for big enterprise companies. Nobody at home needs to be using this when this is available. And then we've got a USB port and our power. And I think all 4 units are exactly the same, if I'm not mistaken. We'll find out in a minute. Speeds up to 33 gigabits per second, ultimate 10G connectivity. You can connect over 200 devices, up to 320 megahertz bandwidth, true home multi-gig mesh Wi-Fi, seamless AI roaming. They've got their TP-Link Home Shield, which I don't use, multi-link operation in 4K QAM, which I forgot what that means. This gives you an example of, there's 2 channels on 6 gigahertz. So if each one can do 11520, which is what the BE12 can do from Asus that we're using now, then with the second one, we get another 11520, effectively doubling our throughput. So that's significant, having that second 6 gigahertz channel. You can do what's called a wired backhaul. That's where you run a wire between the mesh points, so you don't use your wireless for the mesh points to communicate. But if you could run a wire, why not just plug in a switch? That makes no sense to me, because ideally, that's going to be your best possible connection. But the reason why most people get a mesh is because they don't want to run a wire. So the mesh points have to talk to each other, and they can do that either through a wired connection to each mesh point or wirelessly. which has nothing to do with your wireless network, or it shares your wireless network with your wireless devices. I think you can configure it either way. The antennas are internal, so there's nothing to fuss with there. It's got internal cooling fans. We'll see how loud they are. And so with two 6 gigahertz channels plus your 5 gigahertz and your 2.4, if you add all those numbers up together at their best performance, that's how you get to the 33 gigabits per second total. Home Shield is their protection, added protection, which, you know, you can, I've always taken care of that myself with the Windows Firewall and Malwarebytes. But this could prevent certain websites from coming up. If you're, you know, a family with children and you want to restrict where they can go, you would do that at the router level. Okay, so you could see there's the 3-pack, there's a 1-pack, there's a 2-pack, right? So you can buy this depending on what your needs are. It's designed to be a whole home mesh system, meaning for most American homes, this should cover, and then some, up to, oh gosh, I'm not sure what the total square footage coverage on this is, but it's pretty big. We just keep scrolling here. Of course, we're going to be doing the wireless backhaul using Wi-Fi 7 to be our backhaul, because we won't put anything on Wi-Fi 7 here. And we'll restrict that. We'll hide it. So just the meshes can see it and communicate with it. So they have their own dedicated channel to talk to each other. That should give us the best throughput performance. Now over here on Amazon, you can see the 3-pack is $1,200. And the 1-pack is $470. And the 2-pack, well, that's a BE17000. So that's different. We need a 2-pack for the BE33000. See, that's a bit more. So you do notice that when you pay less, you get less, right? 17 is almost half of 33. And if you don't mind that, well, have at it. But if you want the latest and greatest that's available as of September 2024, you're definitely going to want the Wi-Fi 7 backhaul. This is probably just a repeat of the same information. And there's probably some reviews down here. There's the reviews. So we've got 177 reviews, averaging 4.1 out of 5. Overwhelmingly, the majority, 68%, love this router. Couple people, 7%, find it's a little lacking. Again, 3-star, very few reviews at 3, very few reviews at 2, and about 12% of 1-star reviews. So depending on your expectations and level of control, see, this is an old network type. You know what I mean? Involved. This is not an average computer owner here. Not that an average computer owner would necessarily go this extreme, but sounds like he's looking for more like Ubiquiti level enterprise stuff. I'm guessing. I don't think there's a mesh system outside of that that would please somebody like that. Beyond disappointed. I ordered it, created a mesh. Started off poorly. Why 1-star? It doesn't work as advertised. Sounds like they either got a bad unit or they didn't set it up right. Single unit works great. But again, we have somebody, there's an issue, I believe. This person doesn't like customer service. OpenVPN server's not working. I don't use that, so I wouldn't know. We do have some very technical people buying this. This is not an enterprise grade router. Let's be clear on that. You're not going to get your expectations met if what you're looking for is a cheap Ubiquiti unit. If you want Ubiquiti and you want that level of complexity, Go buy Ubiquiti. It's a lot of money. It's very complex, and some people love that. I hate it. I like to keep things as simple as possible. If the network that I'm installing in for a customer requires Ubiquiti level equipment, then that's what I put in. So for me, as a content creator, I need the best mesh system possible. I cannot wire it. Well, I don't want to wire it. I need a fast mesh system, and I need one that won't drop my Wi-Fi during a broadcast that this one's been doing, and we don't know why. And because it only happens sometimes, it's painful and time consuming to start swapping out different units to figure out, is it one of the units is bad? Is it some configuration issue? Is it some neighbor's got some device they're turning on that's interfering with the radio signal? We'll figure it out in time, or we just buy this, double our backhaul speed, and ideally be done with it, put it to bed. So that's why it's here. Now, if we end up with the same problem, where essentially we're getting a great connection from one mesh to the other, as we are here, in theory, we've doubled that speed from, say, 1200 to 2400. I don't need it. I want it. That means when I transfer things, it'll go faster. It'll go twice as fast on file transfers to my NAS, assuming I have a NAS that can go that fast, which I will. The main concern is that when I'm broadcasting, do the random Wi-Fi drops go away? And if they do, it's worth every penny, right? Because then I don't have to deal with diagnosing this. It's too time consuming. So here we are. I guess we can unbox it and see what they want to do here. This opens some way. So just lift up. It's heavy. Let's see. Is there? Yeah, this looks like it just lifts. There was a plastic shrink wrap that was torn, and I took it off before the show. But this is my first time unboxing it. Everything is live, unscripted, and you see it as it happens. We don't have the benefit of editing out misunderstandings, mistakes, dead on arrival products, me misunderstanding, you know, how to hook it up. It's just real, and it should be intuitive based on my over 30 years in the industry. Oh, let me turn this way. It's important when you spend this kind of money that you have a proper unboxing experience, I guess. You know, regardless that you're going to throw the box in the trash anyway. But here we go. I'm going to try this again. Ta-da! Isn't that nicely packaged? Wow. Fancy. Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? It's got a little heft to it. 1, 2, 3. Not much bigger than the BE12, about the same height, maybe just a scooch wider. Also, the BE12 only has 2 1 gig ports and 2 2.5 gig ports. This has 2 2.5 gig ports, and then 2 10 gig Ethernet ports, which we're going to need to go to our 10 gig Synology. And then that SFP port has a little dust cover. You can barely see it right there. Good. Keep it on. Don't use it. Don't use SFP. Okay, in the box, this box doesn't come out. We have, we have a power brick for each unit. I guess that makes sense. They need power, don't they? Power brick, power cable. Power brick, power cable. And power brick, power cable. Now I imagine, I don't really want to hit this keyboard, take myself offline. Maybe turn the keyboard off. Okay. Let's do it this way. There's something else in here. Like, we haven't gotten any documentation. We haven't gotten to any Ethernet cables. So I'm assuming This is all the same. It's not like you have to pair a certain power brick to one of these. They all use the same one. Aha! We have a flat Ethernet cable and a quick installation guide, and I think that's all there is. Yeah, that's just some origami cardboard. Nothing up my sleeve. Okay. Just take this out. Definitely going to need a bigger bench. Let's set this over here. I am quickly running out of room. That should be good for now. Most router manufacturers are going to want you to use your smartphone and download their app to configure their router. It doesn't matter if it's a regular wireless router or a mesh. They have found, they being the manufacturers, have found that this is easier for your average consumer to set up through an app than it is to go through the traditional method of finding the login page and logging in. And look, I'm old school. I've always gone to the login page and logged in. I don't like using an app because it makes me feel like I'm an idiot. It's like you're handing me crayons. I'm a little old for crayons. The question is, are we getting to a point now where you have to use the app? Do you not have a choice? I don't know. Every review I've seen, they follow the instructions that says to use the app. I get it. I get it. And I might still want the app regardless when I'm done to just monitor the unit without having to log into it. It can be quite convenient to have the app and see the status and do it that way. I get it. But the setup, setting up the router with the app, it just feels like you're treating me like an idiot. It's nice to have it as an option, but I hope they don't require it. Based on the reviews I saw, I didn't see anybody set this up any other way. So is it because those reviewers are also, you know, I don't want to say simpletons, but maybe they don't have the level of technical experience that I have. And so for them, they just, yeah, that makes sense to them. For me, I think it's a nice option to have, but I'd prefer to just continue to do it the way I always have. Let's see. Oh, Paul Gray sent us an Amazon gift card for $100. Right on. Paul there in Australia. Thank you so much for your support. And just so you know, we have some items that we're waiting to order from Amazon. We're waiting till we have the funds because we emptied the funds out getting this. And we have a couple, also a couple more computers from Minisforum to review. I don't know what's going on at Minisforum, but man, they are churning out model after model after model, low end, mid range, high end, all of it. I got some catching up to do. Holy cow, it's almost like they're making new models faster than I can review them. So we got a couple of those coming up as well. Either, well, it won't be this week, but next week for sure. Okay, so on top, the first thing I'm seeing that's driving my OCD crazy is this little plastic. Got to cover the company's logo. We wouldn't want that scratched. Now, I suppose these are all equal. I don't think there's a main one and then two satellites. I believe any of these can be the main one. I believe. Otherwise, they'd have some kind of number or labeling on them. They don't appear to. So they all appear to be peers or equal to one another. So just based on the space I have on the desk, I'm going to hook up this first one that's closest to the MSO one, speaking of Minisforum. I want to try and hook this up directly and see if I can configure it old school. I know what the instructions are going to say. I know they're going to tell me to download the app. I already have the app for the other TP-Link Wi-Fi routers I've reviewed, but not for the purpose of setting the router up. rather for the purpose of being able to check for the latest firmware updates. You know, I could be lying in bed and say, you know, log into my TP-Link Tether app, see my router, see the status of my router, check for updates on my router, and I don't have to actually log into it. That's really nice and convenient. I could live with it or without it. My thing is, I like to do everything consistently. I don't want to go to a customer's location and do something differently for them than I've done for all my other customers, because I don't know if there's going to be consequences that are different as a result. So I stick to the process when it comes to like setting up a router that I know works for me, and when I walk away from it, I know that it's not going to come back to bite me on the butt. This is about familiarity, right? So if I start using an app, and that's the direction we're going, and I start doing that all the time, and I gain confidence in it, knowing that's fine, it's equal to, and it's more efficient, then that's what I'll start doing. But I'm not there yet. So I am hoping I can do this the way I am familiar with. And if not, well, what choice will I have but to download the app? So let's get this plugged in. We got a Mickey Mouse style cloverleaf power plug to go into the adapter. And let me plug it in down here. I don't think this has an on or off switch on it. That's interesting. I think when you plug it in, it's on. So I will say the BE12 does have an off switch on the back, which I appreciate, having a power switch. And maybe this has one and I'm just not seeing it. I got a green light underneath there that lit up. There's no buttons under here. It looks like a reset hole right there if you want to get a paper clip. If you forgot your login password, you want to reset it. Then I want to grab a Wi-Fi, sorry, not a Wi-Fi. I want to grab a wired category 6A cable, which is kind of stupid because this has no 10 gig port on it, but that's okay. We're going to plug in, I'm going to plug in, shouldn't matter. I'm going to plug into any of these ports, and we need to feed this with a source, right? So hold on a second. So this will be my source right here. And the source, I believe the source can, these are so intelligent these days, it'll figure it out, I guess. But I'm going to plug the source into the bottom port. Even though that's a 10 gig port, that's really not where I want it, because we don't have a 10 gig internet. But just for the sake of, I have to feed it internet. So let's feed it there. And on the next one, I'm just going to go right up. It doesn't matter. Everything's going to hopefully run at 2.5 regardless. And then I'm going to plug the other end of this into the minis forum. Okay, so now in theory, I should be able to sign into this unit and configure it like I would any other router you've ever seen me configure. If I can't, then I have to use the app. But I don't believe you have to. I could be wrong. Let's find out. We still have the documentation and the cable, the Ethernet cable it includes. They only include one Ethernet cable, meaning they intend for you to plug one of these into your modem and the others to be wireless. And if you're going to plug anything into these others, that you would already have that cable. That's why you don't get 3 cables. Okay. So let's go to the desktop over here. Let me grab my input to the desktop. There we go. Okay. So not knowing anything about setting this up, having read no instructions, and the reviews I saw all set it up with the app, I'm curious. Can I find it just the way I find any other router? If I bring up Internet Explorer, did it already self-configure? Will it take me to the router homepage? What's it going to do? First of all, we do not have internet access here. You see the globe? So what that tells me is I will go to the command prompt here, CMD, and press come on, C, there it is, CMD, enter. And I'm going to type in ipconfig. I got to spell ipconfig. And I'm going to look at what IP address the gateway is, 192.168.68.1. So I'm going to go to 192.168.68.1. Now, if this takes me to an ASUS page, well, we'll find out. No, it took me to TP-Link. Yay! And what does it want me to do? It wants me to download the app. I don't want to download the app. Is there a... Come on, please. Is there a fine print somewhere I'm not seeing? Wow. Okay. Well, this is the very first router I think I've ever had that when you log into the website, the router's configuration page, the configuration page comes up as it should, but directs you to download the app, and it's a dead end. You can't get past this screen. You're done. So you can scan this QR code with your phone if you don't have the app, or you can just open up the Apple Store, the App Store, or Google Play and download the TP-Link Deco app. So TP-Link also has something called the Tether app. So you want the Deco app for the mesh system. The Tether app is for the regular Wi-Fi routers they sell. If you download the wrong app, don't expect it to do what you want it to do. TP-Link has more than one app. Okay, so I guess I'm stuck. And I have to do what I don't want to do. But that's okay. I mean, this is the future. This is probably my first taste of what will be the new standard for all routers. Companies, they want to reduce support calls. Customers have no idea what they're doing in general. They plug the cable in, they turn it on, and they just expect it to work. They don't understand the complexity. When we get into mesh systems, you get a lot of control taken away because of the complexity of the mesh system's wireless backhaul. You can't get in there and change channels on any mesh system that I'm aware of, Wi-Fi channels. It's going to take what it's going to take, and you can't touch it because if you touch it over here, it affects these two over here. The whole thing gets messy. So almost universally, it is so complex that that control is taken away, as far as I know, on every mesh system made. So don't expect to have that kind of control. It doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because it's way too complex, and they don't want support calls because you went in there and screwed it up. So the app makes this more of a guaranteed success. You download the app and you follow it through. Now, I will say, a company that does this really, really well is the garage door opener, LiftMaster, Chamberlain. They have their MyQ app with step-by-step instructions that anybody, a child, could set it up. It's so easy. There's no misunderstanding. There's nothing that's skipped over or not clear. And you do it one step at a time before you hit next. Everything is just baby steps. It's beautiful. You can't screw it up. I think that's the idea here. Let's find out. I need my glasses. Romex says, what about people about router replacement? If there's nothing wrong with it, don't replace it. Because how do you know there's nothing wrong with it, right? Is that just ignorance? The problem is, you don't, look, I'm not telling you to replace your router after 5 years. You asked me a question. Let's go over this. This viewer asked me, when should a person replace the router? I said in 5 years. Questions answered. We're done with this, right? Oh no, he's got to come back and challenge my answer. That's a little frustrating for me. Like, why did you ask? If you already knew an answer in your head, why did you challenge me? So his challenge question is, well, what if there's nothing wrong with it? Well, I've already explained. You may not know there's something wrong with it. You may not be getting the fastest speeds. You may not be having the most security that has the latest updates as threat actors around the world are trying to attack you. No matter what country you're in, you will be attacked, and you're probably attacked, honestly, today, automatically through bots and viruses. They just run automatically. You're probably getting attacked 1,000 times an hour that your router is blocking. And so the older the router gets, the vulnerabilities behind it become more vulnerable because the manufacturer may stop updating it because there's no money in it. They got to pay a developer, et cetera, et cetera. Your ISP may increase your speeds, but if you don't increase your modem or replace it, you might be paying for those speeds and not even realize you can't get them because your equipment's old. So that ignorance is not an excuse to say there's nothing wrong with it. There very well may be something wrong with it. And do you want to wait until you find out? Or would you rather be proactive to, nothing's going to guarantee it's not going to happen, but you can certainly take steps such as changing the oil in your car. Why should I change the oil in my car? There's nothing wrong with my car. We change the oil to continue having nothing wrong with your car. So does that mean if I change the oil, I'll never have a car problem? No, that's not what it means. It's not what it means. And I shouldn't have to get to this level of explanation. I would hope that you understand what preventive maintenance is and when it is reasonable versus being reactive and waiting for something to happen. Because if you're just going to wait for something to happen and respond to it, I promise it'll happen at the worst possible time. It's just the way it is. And the consequences, well, who knows? They could steal your identity. They could encrypt everything on your network. You could be screwed, or you could have just spent some money, replaced the router, and never had that happen. On the other hand, you can also spend some money, replace the router, and still have that happen. It's just going to be less likely. So do you want to be proactive or do you want to be reactive? Do you want to get the best performance out of your router? Do you want to get the best performance out of your ISP? Because your ISP is upgrading, I promise you. Networking is upgrading, I promise you. Do you want to keep up or do you want to be left behind? It's your choice, but set your expectations. Hence my answer, a router should be replaced every 5 years, in my opinion. And it's just an opinion. 𝐓𝐫𝐢-𝐁𝐚𝐬𝐲 says hello. Romex says, I didn't mean to attack or challenge you. I just wanted to get assurance if I understood correctly. I try to be up as well. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It's just sometimes somebody says to me, I just have one question, right? They call me, just real quick, one question. And I answer it, and now they have a question to my answer. And when I answer that, and so an hour on the phone later, hey, I just need a minute. As you can imagine from my side of things, it's like, oh, you didn't just need a minute. It's all good. It's all good. I appreciate your interacting in the chat room. If I've left something unclear, of course I want to clarify it. I tend to think that our viewers here are generally a bit more tech-wise than the average user. But if you're not, that's okay. You're welcome here. In fact, more than welcome. And if I have to take a step back and explain that, my apologies if I took it as a challenge, because it came off like, to me, the way I read it, it came off like you already had the answer. And I'm like, if you already have the answer, what was the point? But I get it, and I apologize if my interpretation, which it appears was incorrect. I didn't mean to. It happens so many times. It's hard to know when somebody's sincere and when somebody's poking at me. So I'll try better in the future. All right, I got to download an app, I guess. Now, I think I already have the TP-Link Deco, because we were using a TP-Link Deco for a secondary backup internet system back at Studio B, but it wasn't at this level. This is a whole nother level. So let's take a look. Again, a shout out and a thank you to Paul Gray in Australia, Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland for their Amazon gift card contributions. You guys are amazing. Let's see, what do I want? Oh, TP-Link, sorry. TP-Link Deco, TP-Link Deco. Did I already grab it? There's Tether. swear I already have this. All right, well, let's go to the Play Store and we'll search for, I mean, I could just scan the QR code on the screen. Let's search for Deco app TP-Link, okay? Yeah, it doesn't say to run it, it says install. That means it's not on my phone. That's the first app that comes up. This is going to be a very hard thing to demonstrate to you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and install it. It's 118 megs. And I guess that means this wire right here, this is no good to us because we can't do anything on the mini PC at this point. We must do this first. You can plug stuff in if you want to. It's just not gonna, that stuff's not gonna work. You have to do this first. So why not wait to plug it in? That's what my OCD says. All right, now we can open this. It's been installed. So I guess it starts to open. Deco 3.0. Confirm to join the user experience, accept the terms. Okay, so if I come over to the camera, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do here. This ought to be fun for me. Let's come up to the camera. The first screen I'm getting is the license agreement. So you have to agree to the license agreement. But the other option for the monitoring your user experience by sending data anonymously, you can or choose to opt in or out of that. So I'm going to accept the terms of use, right? But I'm not going to participate in their experience program voluntarily. I would prefer not to. And that's your choice, right? You can disagree and exit the app, or you can agree, at least with the terms of use, and hit continue. It says, do you want to allow it to send notifications? I do, yes. Now it wants me to create a TP-Link ID, or sign in if I already have one. I think I already have one. It said he's already got one. I told him we already got one. All right, step back over here. It's a little challenging. All right, let's see. Create a TP-Link ID. Do I have one? TP-Link ID. Let me check my RoboForm, because if I have one, this is what a password manager does for you. Let me open RoboForm. And I have hundreds of logins. So I log into RoboForm and I search. I can look alphabetically or I can do a search for all my logins. It defaults, RoboForm defaults with my most recent logins, the ones I use most often or most recently. So TP-Link isn't going to be on my main page. Search, web, or RoboForm. I want TP. Okay, there's TP-Link Deco. What does that do? Oh, haha. Okay. So what I should be able to do, if I click on the item in RoboForm, it'll take me to TP-Link and sign me in, which is what I don't want it to do. If I hold the TP-Link icon down in RoboForm, if I hold it down, it's not working. Oh, maybe that doesn't work on the shortcut page. You're going to need to do this step. If you don't have a TP-Link ID, it is required to do this. And that ID is required. It's like the router sign-in page. You don't want somebody to log into your routers and take them over. And so the way they're controlling that is through a TP-Link ID, which is through, I guess, TP-Link servers, which you may not like, right? Because what's the consequence of that? So let me just try. Let me see what we got here. Oh, I'm under create. I don't want to create one. I already have an account. Now I put in my ID. See, Android can remember your logins too, but you have to at least do it once. So Android's like, hey, you want me to autofill this for you? I said, go ahead. He goes, oh, I can't. Well, thanks for asking, Android. Appreciate that. Would you like some tea? Oh, I'd very much like some tea. Well, we don't have any. Well, just cookies then. No, we don't have cookies either. Oh, well, I guess I'll have nothing. Great. Okay, so my password. Okay, back over to RoboForm here and see if I can just pull the password out of RoboForm. I can't. I have no idea. This RoboForm interface looks a little different than what I'm accustomed to, so bear with me for a second. I'm mainly using RoboForm on my desktop and laptop. On the phone, it works a little different. So I'm not seeing... Where did it go? TP-Link right here. I hold it down. It says you can copy the username, you can copy the password without seeing it. I'm going to say just copy the password. Then I'm going to go back over to the app. And I'll click on the password, re-enter your password, and I'll paste that and log in. Incorrect email or password. Great. Okay, so I'm going to click I forgot my password. It says, we'll send an email to help you reset your TP-Link ID password. So I put in my TP-Link ID. And in theory, if I have a TP-Link account under that ID, it should send me a message saying, click here. And it did. Now it wants me to select a new password, and I'm going to wonder if I can put that same password in. Then I don't have to change it. Whatever's in RoboForm, for some reason, doesn't match TP-Link. Okay, it took it. So now, whatever that password was in RoboForm that I had for TP-Link, I now have set back again, rather than generating a whole new one and then having to update RoboForm. So with that being done, I click that I've finished resetting. It takes me back to the login. And I should be able to enter that same password again. And I should be able to log in. It says, do you want to turn on fingerprint login? If you have certain smartphones that have the fingerprint security, instead of entering a code every time, I'll turn that on. It's way easier. Do you want to allow the Deco app to use your fingerprint? Yes, I do. Okay, then log in with your fingerprint. Okay, fingerprint login's turned on. Complete. Good. It says, let's begin. Secure your Deco account with two-step verification. Yeah, sure, let's turn it on. We need you to verify your password. So again, I got to put my password in a fourth time. Obviously, they don't want somebody else doing this. It's got to be you. And now they're going to send a code to me, and I have to enter that code within a certain period of time to verify it's me, and that's basically two-factor authentication. So if somebody else were to get my login and password, they would not get this code. Code is different every time, and you have a certain amount of time to enter it, or you start again. So if I put the code in correctly now, it should authenticate me both by my ID password and by a code that always changes that was sent to my contact information according to my account. And in theory, it should take us to the next step. And right now it's just got the spinning circle for some reason. Oh, now it says success. That took a long time. Normally, two-factor authentication is pretty instantaneous. Okay, so finally, after doing all that, we are logged in to the TP-Link Deco app, which you have to be before you can begin setting up the routers. So you have to do all of this first. So if you know you've ordered these, you can go ahead and do this now and then just bring this up later. Once the units arrive, you can get right to work. Okay? Because that has nothing to do with whether or not we have the units. That's not a prerequisite. Now that we've got the app, and I'll step back over. It says paint your home in Wi-Fi. Let's begin. We have the, what is this? The BE95, right? So it comes up with a list of routers and it says, tell us which one you have. It doesn't auto-detect it. So you look at your order if you don't know what you've got. We've got the BE95. I'm going to select I have the BE95. It says, okay. If you look in your packaging, you're going to need to find the Ethernet cable and the power adapter. Well, we've already done that. That's what it's telling us to do now. Now it's telling us plug it in and turn it on. Okay. I don't know why we need the Ethernet cable. Power saving mode may affect the use of the Deco app. Please turn it off on your phone and try again. Oh, never mind. Okay, next. Power off your cable modem. Remove the backup battery if it has one. Disconnect your old router from your modem before moving on. Yeah, that's fine. Next. There is an option, I don't have a modem, but I'm just going to pretend we're plugged into a modem, even though we'll see what it does. Okay, now plug in your devices. Connect your modem. All right, now it wants us to connect it. We've already done all that. If you want to use the SFP port, there's a little fine print right there. I want to use the SFP Plus port. For the love of all that's holy, please don't. It's expensive. It's stupid. I don't understand its existence on a consumer-based networking gear, but you do you. We're not doing that. I've had enough of it. All right, next. Check your modem. Wait for about 2 minutes. Your modem to start up. Then when the modem is ready, the internet LED on your modem will usually light up and become stable. Okay, and then there's a picture. Let me look at it. You have a blinking blue light. That is not exactly easy to see. Why is it? Why is the status light under? One thing that's really critical for somebody like me, I want to see the lights. I don't want to have to. You know, what this reminds me of is when I was shopping for dishwashers. Dishwashers today, a lot of them, all the lights and controls are on the top of the door. So when you close the door, you can't see the status of the dishwasher. Is it drying? Is it what state of wash is it in when it's running? And I think the reason they do this is for people that have children or pets that might push the buttons. That's not a problem for me. I want all the buttons on the outside of the door, so when I close the door, then I select what wash cycle I want, and then I can see where it's lighting up to know where I am in the wash cycle. If all the buttons and lights are on the top of the door and the door is closed and hidden underneath the counter, you just trust it, I guess. I mean, I can't see it without pulling the door open. When I pull the door open, the whole wash cycle stops. That's terrible. I hate that. So for them to put that LED on the bottom, ew. All right, so it's blinking blue. Says it could take up to 2 minutes. I don't know. Let's see. I guess you can, okay, you can kind of see it reflecting off the surface here. But, maybe that's good enough. Wait for about 2 minutes. It'll usually light up and become stable. Usually. Okay, I'm going to just go to the next step. Wait until Deco LED pulses blue. Well, I wish I'd have known that in the previous step. It's pulsing blue. Wait until it's pulsing blue. That would have been helpful to know 5 minutes ago. Okay, next step. Looking for Deco. So now it's searching. I don't know how well you can see that. Looks like a little sonar going around, very fancy. Allow Deco to access your location. I guess I have to allow it, otherwise, how else is it going to find it? Do you want to allow it while using this app, only this time, or not at all? Well, using this app, I mean, in order for this to work, I guess it's got to know where I am in proximity to where that is. I guess that makes sense. I can see how privacy advocates aren't going to like that at all. Deco will use a temporary Wi-Fi network to connect to device Deco CC47, which I guess is this. Okay, that's fine. It makes a temporary connection to this device. It says, I found it. And it says, where have you placed it? And then it's got examples, bedroom, hallway, right? This will be, let's say, office. All right, so I clicked office. And you can choose custom and write your own. You've got to be able to identify these, right? So you could say Mo, Curly, Larry, however you want to do it, if it makes sense to you. For me, I will actually put their locations. This will be the office, this will be the studio, this will be upstairs, something like that, right? And then if we have a problem and it says it's upstairs or it says it's the studio, we know where it is. If I choose names like Mo, Larry, and Curly, then that's my own system. No one else will understand. Okay, detecting my internet connection type right now. We're actually connected into another router. We're connected to what's it called? The BQ12? ET12. We're connected to the ET12. We need some information about your internet connection. All right, so our internet connection type can be a dynamic IP or advanced settings. You're just going to want the default dynamic IP, and everything should be automated. So unless you're somebody who controls all of your IP addresses by hand, you're going to choose just the first option there. And it wants to know what kind of dynamic. Is it PPPoE? Is it static? Is it L2TP, PPTP, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to choose any of this, none of it. I'm just going to hit done, and I'm going to go to next. Now it wants me to create the Wi-Fi network. So this is where we give the Wi-Fi network a name. As a mesh system, you have to create a Wi-Fi network. I can't skip this step. The network name is the SSID. That's the thing that broadcasts out, and you can see it on your phone or your laptop. So you want to connect to this network, right? And then you set a password for that. That needs to be at least 8 characters long. So let's go next, and we'll do that now. So we hit next. Oh, I think we hit next. Next is not working. I see. So we have to do that on this screen first. So I'm going to call it, first of all, don't call it the name of your router. Don't broadcast out to your neighbors that you have a TP-Link, whatever model, because if there's any exploits and you happen to have a neighbor who's quite technical, they might know the basic login information, default login information, or certain exploits that those routers may have. So don't broadcast, not even the manufacturer. Don't say Linksys or Netgear, because you're helping a hacker know that certain manufacturers have vulnerabilities that others don't, and default logins, and you might make it easier for them to know exactly what they're attacking. So we can call the network anything we want to call it, anything at all. What I wouldn't do is be personal. I wouldn't have my name, my address, my street, nothing where a hacker could identify it's that house, right? They could maybe measure, if they're good, the Wi-Fi signal, and as the signal gets stronger, but I don't need to just put it out there, right? This is Carey's Wi-Fi. That's dumb. Don't do that. Well, you can do it, assuming your name's not Carey. So we want a name that means something to us, or maybe it's fun. We'll call it Pretty Fly for a Wi-Fi. Thank you, Offspring. And our password, well, may not let us do that. It may have to be all one word. and I put spaces. So let's try. I'll just call it Pretty Fly. People will be like, what the heck does that mean? Because my neighbors, you know, when they go to log into anything or sign in, they're likely going to get this signal. This is a strong signal. It's going to go into my neighbors' homes. If you live in an apartment, it's probably going to go into a lot of other people's apartments around you. So try not to make it anything that identifies you to the people who know you. Not your apartment number, not the name of your building, not the name of your street, not the name of your dog, not the manufacturer name, something completely unrelated. So let's see if I can put a password in here. What password should I use? 4AYFI. It says it's weak. Exclamation point. All right. All you had to do, it went from weak to strong. So for me, and this is easily guessable, right? But I put the SSID to Pretty Fly, and then the password for a Wi-Fi with a capital F, capital W, and an exclamation. So this is all going to be reset. So it doesn't matter if I expose this to you. It's just for an example of how we set it up. And then now Next lights up and allows me to go to the next stage. So you want to create a 6 gigahertz network. That's what it's asking me with these settings. Sure, next. Keep your Deco up to date. Auto update allows your Deco to automatically update to the latest firmware, which provides better network performance. The default update schedule is between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. It'll check automatically, and if there's an update, download it and apply it while you're hopefully sleeping or not. It won't interrupt with anything, right? So you can change that schedule, but the default schedule, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. I don't know if that's daily. I would hope it's daily. I'll hit next. Now it says it's creating my Wi-Fi network. Now remember, we haven't plugged the other two units in, right? We're just configuring this one. This is going to take a minute as it kind of spins around and does the configuration to this through the app. Christopher Horton says he's got an Eero mesh system. He loves it. His is named CIA Headquarters Surveillance. Yeah, seen that one before. The Eeros are very, very limited. So if you're not a technical person, you know, there's an Eero version of this that's maybe a little bit less, maybe $100 less. It's very high end, great reviews. You get no control over it all. So Eero is for people that don't have any interest in wanting control. They want the system to more or less maintain itself so they can't screw it up. Sort of the Apple of the router world. It's very basic, very simple, except they're also very, very aggressively priced, whereas Apple isn't. But they're like Apple in the sense that they've restricted what you can do and configure with it, and all Eero routers across the board are like that. But make no mistake, the Wi-Fi 7 Eero mesh system, the latest one, is very powerful. And it's designed for people who don't want to have all of that control. It doesn't give it to you, right? It just limits what you can do. And so if you're a regular user, you're not technical, you just want it to work, you want the Eero. If you're a technical user, but not too technical, and you want TP-Link or Netgear, am I forgetting one? There's one other one. And if you're super technical, if you want that high-end stuff, you want Ubiquity level and above. It says, save your Wi-Fi network to your phone. Okay, well, I mean, you just hit next. Oh, and then it says, do you want to save this? Sure, let's save it. Okay, it's saved. Now it's connecting to this from my phone. And now it's connected via Wi-Fi from here to here directly now. Now it's testing the internet connection to make sure that that's working. And so that's what that looks like. Use Deco's combo pair. The combo pair includes an Ethernet port and an SFP plus port. Only one port in the pair can be used at a time. So in other words, the SFP port's right next to an Ethernet port. Those two, it's one or the other. You can use all the others regardless, but that specific last Ethernet port, you sacrifice for the SFP if you want to use the SFP. If you don't use the SFP, then that port works the same as all the others. So just FYI, it's one or the other with regards to the SFP port or SFP plus port and that very first or bottom Ethernet plug. Your Deco network is now up. Your Deco is ready to use. Please connect all devices to the Deco network for better connections. Well, I guess if they're not connected, their connections aren't going to be very good. So I guess they would be better if they're connected. Now, it says place the other Decos, the other units, in the room that needs where you want to put it. Like where do I want to put this one? It's saying go take it wherever you want it right now. And then power it on. Okay, so for that, let's take this one and the power cord. And I'm going to hand this to Mara in the office and let her plug it in somewhere. Again, we're going to move everything around and reconfigure this after the video, but for now, this is what she's going to need. So let me walk this over there. Ooh, walk around my landmine field here. Bear with me for a second. Hello.
You want me to put it over there?
I do. There you go. All right, so she's off to go plug that into the office. Now we could also plug the third unit in. As for a demonstration as to how it works, it won't change the following process regardless of how, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, it's always going to be the same process. So I think if we just demonstrate one, we can get on with things, and keeping in mind the network we're connecting it to will be limited to 2.5 gigs. So in theory, one mesh talking to the other mesh, I should see a data rate of around 2 point something, which is pretty darn fast. Should be double what we had if it's set up correctly, regardless if we have 2 or 3. So I'll wait from the okay from her before we go to the next step. And while we're waiting, let me take a look here in the chat room. Aaron says he's got the Deco X55 mesh system, and this looks like it would be an amazing upgrade. Well, that's what we're hoping, because we need it. And so far, I don't think my Wi-Fi has dropped yet today. And we were almost on our 2-hour mark. And that's the problem. Why did it drop the last 2 broadcasts, but didn't drop yet today? It's too intermittent to diagnose it, or at least to diagnose it quickly. And if this will do what this is doing, but do it faster and not drop the Wi-Fi, worth it just for the time savings of figuring this out. We'll keep this as a backup in case something dies. We'll just have this to throw back up and we can get back online, and the show must go on. On the other hand, if this turns out to be crap, we'll find out, we'll let you know, and we will send it back to Amazon. We have 30 days. As you would, just like anybody else. We bought it just like anybody else. All the same rules apply. We're fully independent here. TP-Link has not sent us anything for free. This is through your membership and your contributions that we are able to do this. If this has fans in it, like I can feel a little heat coming out of the top, I don't hear it. On the other hand, I do have a couple fans in this room running because it's still hot in Phoenix. No, it's perfectly silent. I was a little worried when it showed the fans that it might get loud. Tinier fans tend to run faster to move more air, and they have a higher pitch sound because they're smaller and spin faster. This has no sound whatsoever, but I do feel heat coming out of the top. I'm assuming fans are pushing the air up. It's not hot though. Oh, I take it back. It is pretty hot at the base. It's warm. And up here it's cool. Interesting. Christopher Horton says his TP-Link system Has no buttons, just like this one. He's got 2 units and they cover an entire 2,000 square foot house. Right on. Yeah, I mean, mesh systems can be real problem solvers for people with larger homes or older homes or multi-floor. You know, you have a basement or you have an upstairs. Your signal from a regular router, depending on where you placed it in the house, may be a little weak in certain areas. So a mesh system can cover that, including the front yard, backyard, etc. You know, if you want to hang out outside or if you have a shed outside, you should be able to reach it with these. So now the router light is what color now that we're configured? Oh, it's green. Green means go. Green means everything's good. We don't want to see, so blue is like, hey, you need to configure me. I've lost my configuration. And maybe there's a red. Red says something's wrong. I don't know if there's a red or not, but that's how I would have done it. I don't want to see the red. There may not even be one to see anyway. Maybe it's just blue or green. I don't know. You got that plugged in? Yeah. Okay. So with that plugged in, we should be able to connect to it. So it says plug in other devices, and then we hit next. Wait until all LEDs pulse blue. Is the LED pulsing blue? No, it's green. Solid green. It's green. Wait until all LEDs pulse blue. They will be automatically added to the network. Then you're all set. So did that already happen while we were talking? I don't know. I'm going to hit next and see what happens. Oh, it just says done. Let us know how we're doing. Okay. It says everything is great. And it shows shows 2 of these. They're already I didn't do anything. They just connected all by themselves. See what I'm saying? How the app kind of dumbs everything down? You have no control. It just does it. Great. Now, of course, we called this one Office, and that one we never got a name, so it's just at the basic Deco with a couple letters and numbers that are random. So we'll have to go in and change that here in the app. And also here in the app, we can test our internet speed. Right here it says test speed in the app. I'm going to hit test speed. Privacy notice. It has to know where you are to find the closest connection, right? So it's looking to see where the closest server is. Because if we're going to test our speed from here to China, it's not exactly the best way to test your speed. You find somewhere close. Some server says, okay, let me find where you are. Just doesn't find it precisely. It gets a general idea. And let me find a general idea of a server near you. And then that'll be what we test the speed with. So right now it says it's testing the upload speed right now. And then it says success. And it's saying 727 down and 105 up. Okay, we should be able to go faster than that. However, my phone is only limited to a certain amount. That's where we would have to use this. So if I plug, first of all, let's just go to, how do I get out of this? Oh, there's a history, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the app, there's a little more information on the app here. I don't want to go through this whole app. So what I want to do now, I'm going to close this app out. We're done with it. Close everything. Let's go ahead and plug in the MSO1 like that. And I don't know what speed these are connecting to each other. You know, do we have a dedicated backhaul or not? I'm not sure. I'm sure we can control it in the app. The app is actually pretty feature rich. There's menus and submenus and submenus. And it looks like no matter what, that's the way I'm going to have to rename the other router. That any sort of changes that I want to do, I'm going to have to do in the app. There's no other way to do it. But just know that that app is far more, there's far more than what I've shown you. There's far more menus, submenus, and submenus. depending on what you want to do. All your configuration for setting up your security, setting up your guest network, setting up your Internet of Things network, all of that is available to you in this app. And you know, we could make a whole video just on how to use this app. We're not going to. I'm just trying to get the basics done. So just to get it set up, just get it running, and then we can fine tune it, name things, put these where we actually want to use them, and then we'll start using them and we'll see how they perform, especially that they don't drop my signal during a live video, which, you know, I think this one knows. It's like, I'll behave, I promise, don't disconnect me. Number 5 is alive. No, bad, Wally. All right, let's go to the minis forum. Okay, that's where we left it. Let's see, let's do a, what is it, fast.net. See if it's connected. Shouldn't take this long. I might have to close and reopen the browser. Let's do that. Why is this not loading? That is definitely not fast. Am I going to the right site? Maybe not. Let's see, fast.
You're not on the internet.
Should be.
No, you're not connected to the modem in any way.
I am not connected to the modem in any way. I think I am. So Mara says I'm not connected. I think I am connected. So yeah, we're definitely connected. This ain't coming up any other way. So because we plugged a router into a router, I'm not plugged into the other mesh. I'm plugged into this mesh. So everything will be reported on this system. And then this system is connected to the other, which is not what you should do. But for the sake of our sample here today, there is a speed test for Netflix. And I thought it was called fast.com. That's my problem. Fast.com. Let's go. Go faster. Faster. I expected much more than that. So anyway, we've got the basics set up right now. All right. So the point of the video, especially as we get close to 2 hours here, is to introduce the product to you. Introduce just basic, plug it in, turn it on. This is as basic as it gets. Universally, if you buy this system, you will have to go through every step I've shown you. Anything I do from this point forward is unique to me. Giving these names, placing them where I want to be, making sure the backhaul is on its own channel, which is a choice. You can share it with other devices, or you can dedicate it to the units. We want to dedicate both 6 gig channels to these devices, so they can transmit at twice the speed at what this one can do that only has the one 6 gig channel. And if we do all that correctly, we should be getting not that 750. Like if I do that same test with this, I'll get around 1150. And from the internet service provider here, we should be able to get to 2500. Believe that or not, if everything's good. But getting that through wireless is a real challenge. These are supposed to do that. So if we're getting around 1150 on one 6 gig channel, then with 2 6 gig channels, we should double that to around 2300. That's what I want to see. And we haven't got it configured yet. And it didn't auto-configure for that, just so you know. And that's all going to be done exclusively through the app, whether you like it or not. The good news is I can have the app, Mara can have the app. It's not like logging into a website, which I guess we could both do. But as long as you have the login ID and password, you can log into the app and take full control of the router, change the password, change the SSIDs, change if you want Smart Connect or not, change how these are going to talk to each other. You can run a wire between the two of them, and then they're going to talk as fast as possible. But if you could run a wire, why would you need it? That's my whole point. If I could run a wire from the office to here, I wouldn't need this. I could just plug it into a switch. But I guess if you were wanting an ultra fast wired connection, so in other words, if that's 10 gig, if both of these are 10 gig through this wired connection, let's say this is 10 gig, right? And let's just pretend this is 10 gig. And let's pretend we have a NAS that's 10 gig and I want to transfer files, big files at 10 gig. I cannot do that wirelessly. It just can't be done. As I mentioned, I could probably go 24-2500, which is like 2.5, even if I'm connected at 10. But if this is wired to this, and then this is wired to this, and then this is wired to the Synology, all at 10 gig, I should get 10 gig. So it depends on what's your goal. Why are you getting these? For most people, they just want to get on the internet with their phone or their tablet, no matter where they are in the house, right? So that maybe their signal is weak or it goes away at a certain room. Could be the kitchen, could be the basement. Wherever it is, you're losing your signal. And you don't really care how fast these are so much as that you just want to connect to your internet. And you don't know anything about speeds. You don't know what speed you're paying for from your ISP. All you know is every time I walk to this part of the house, my signal goes away. So for that, a mesh system solves it. And it made it easy for anybody to deploy these. But what if you got a really large house? Let's say you're one of these folks that has a lot of money, but you're not technically minded. So you've got a 5,000 square foot house and you're having this problem all over the house. You know, I can't get, it's the opposite. I can only get Wi-Fi on this side. I can't get Wi-Fi at all on this side or downstairs or upstairs. Then you need a more powerful mesh that covers more square footage. Okay, and so if you have that kind of square footage, then you obviously have the money that these aren't expensive in comparison to a 5,000 square foot house. And then all of a sudden, no matter where you go in the house, if you place these properly in your dead spots, you should have your Wi-Fi everywhere. But that's not what I want. What I want is a very fast wireless connection from one unit to the other. I don't want to wire it. And I realize that if I have a 10 gig in the other room, I will not be able to go at 10 gig unless I physically wire the 10 gig with a wire. But I can double my speed from 1100 to 2200 in theory by upgrading to this. And more importantly, and I can't stress this enough, having my Wi-Fi die during a live stream for no apparent reason, when you have multiple units, you don't know which unit is causing it. You don't know if some interference is happening from a neighbor doing something. You don't know if the unit's overheating. You don't know if, we don't know. And it's going to take a while to diagnose that, make some changes and try it again. And then how do you know that you fixed it? So for example, today, we've not fixed anything here. We've not changed the configuration and it hasn't dropped me at all. It's maddening. It would be peace of mind to just say, okay, that's fine in an emergency, but for everyday reliability, let's replace it. Let's double our speed because we can. We're going to replace it anyway. And if the Wi-Fi drops continue to happen, we know it's not the system. We know there's something in the air. Somebody's turning something on that's, or activating something around us that's interfering with our signal. So this helps our diagnostic. In theory, my theory is something is wrong with one of these units. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know what's causing it, and I don't know how to cure it. I can figure it out over time, and if one of the units is bad, send it back for warranty. Just replace it. And we'll find out, because we're going to actually deploy this here in Studio C. This is going to replace this. This is 6E. This is Wi-Fi 7. And we're going to see which one we like better. We may end up going back to that. right? That's why I say we can simulate all day. We can run benchmarks. It's meaningless, absolutely meaningless to simulate reality. The best possible benchmark is you actually using it in your environment with your expectations, which are different than my environment and my expectations. And you might hate it, I might love it, but the benchmarks universally say the same thing for both of us. What's the point of the benchmarks? It doesn't make any sense to me, and that's what most reviewers focus on. I want to focus on reality, and I want to focus on using the unit and in your environment, your demands, and your expectations, which are unique to you. Did it meet them or did it not? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in my environment with my expectations, and we're going to see, is it as good as or better than or worse than our previous unit. This is an ASUS ET12. This is a TP-Link BE95. They couldn't be more different. We're not going from one ASUS to another ASUS, right? And there may be things we like about this and don't like about this. And there are things we like about this and don't like about this. That's unique to us. It's very subjective. So we're going to deploy it after the show. We're going to configure it tonight. We're going to retire these temporarily, put them in a back room and say, you know, if everything's terrible, we're going to go back. We're not going to erase them or reset them. We're going to, if worst case scenario, we can just plug them in and everything stays configured. And then if we have these for a while and we're like, okay, we ain't going back, then we can reset those. So that's how we're going to do it. And we'll report back and let you know how it goes. Thanks to all of the members and all of the super chats, all of the contributions, the Amazon gift cards, the PayPal contributions. It's because of you guys that we're able to spend this kind of money to do this review and report back in a real world use case scenario outside of benchmarks. Did it meet our needs? Did it blow our minds, or was it disappointing? And that takes time, and we're going to use it, and we're going to find out. And of course, thanks to our friends Acronis. That's the software I use for backing up and cloning hard drives. I use that to back up my own computers. I use it for my clients. RoboForm, I just used it in this video. I love RoboForm. I don't know how I could ever live without it. It's a password manager. If you're not using a password manager, RoboForm has a free trial. Decide for yourself. We have a video here on how to use it. Same with Acronis, free trial. We have a video on how to use it. This is a demonstration, how it works. You decide. I'm not the salesman here. These are products I really use in my real business. If you like them, there's 30% off coupon codes in the links below this video. And of course, thanks to Mara for all the work she's doing behind the scenes. And she's going to set these up. I'm going to assign her the job of setting all this up. I don't want to do it. But she loves that stuff. So she'll set that up tonight. Tomorrow, when we're going to do our TerraMaster SSD NAS video, we'll be on this. I hope. That's the goal. And then Friday, what do we have Friday? Oh, I think we're going to finish up with the Synology NAS 10 gig upgrade. And then I need a 10 gig computer so I can see how fast the transfers are. It should be 10 times faster, assuming the Synology can keep up. We'll see. Thanks, of course, to our friend Buster out there in Scotland with all of his generosity and support. He sent a very generous contribution earlier today, and we can't thank him enough for that. Of course, our friend Paul Gray in Australia, Frankie B in New York, and Oystein in Norway. These guys have been ultra generous and supportive of the channel. Thanks to all of our members. Thank you for all the super chats. Peter VZ just contributed €1. Paul Gray, speak of the devil, $10 Australian. Thank you guys so much. And did I miss any? I might have missed some. Aaron A with a $5 super chat, and Mike Ely with a $10 super chat. Sorry, I missed those earlier. Dustin Fuller renewed his membership, now a member for 28 months. Members are just amazing. Thank you so much for continuing your membership and for such a long time. Paul Gray also had contributed earlier a $20 Australian super chat. And I think I already read everybody else. And again, a welcome to Don Holmes as a new member. Right on. Love to see the community grow with like-minded individuals. We'd love to have you and really appreciate your participation in the chat, regardless if you're green or white or whatever. We just really, all we want is for people to interact kindly. And so anybody who wants to interact kindly, won't cost you a penny. Come on into the chat and join us. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all again tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, with the new TerraMaster SSD NAS. Can't wait. See you then. Bye for now.